Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to test out Htvront A200 Auto Tumbler Heat Press Machine. Htvront kindly sent this to me to try it out on my channel. As always, I'll be giving you my honest review. If you've ever wanted to create your own custom tumblers but felt overwhelmed by complicated machines, I think this will be a really great one to check out. They've purposely designed this machine to be super beginner friendly. Throughout the video, I'll show you how this works, what worked for me, and some things that I had to adjust as I was learning to use the new machine. I'm really excited to get into it. If you're a DIY crafter or even someone that's trying to start up a flexible side business, then you'll definitely want to check this out. Here's what the machine looks like outside of the box. I really like that it has a nice compact size. I also received the 40-ounce handle tumbler heat plate kit. When purchasing, there is different options. You can purchase just for straight tumblers, one just for the 40-ounce, or both, called the Pro Kit. I'll have a link down in my description box. And Htvront gave us a $70 off coupon code, which is really exciting if you're thinking about grabbing one. All the info will be right there in the description box for you. Here's another look at the machine. This one is the Daisy White. It also comes in Bubble Blue. This can handle 11-ounce to 40-ounce tumblers. It comes with a heat plate. This one is for straight tumblers and glass cups. Here's what it looks like. This is very easy to remove it and swap it out if you want to use the 40-ounce tumbler heat plate. There's a little symbol on each one so you know which one is which. The inside of the 40-ounce one is the shape of that tumbler, so that's really cool. There's 2 grooves on the top of the machine. You'll slide the plate through that until you hear a click. Here's what the console looks like. You can set the heat, time, and pressure on this. One of my favorite features is the custom setting with built-in memory presets. It already has the exact settings you need, whether you're using the stainless steel or the glass tumblers. I don't have to manually adjust the settings every time. I just need to select the preset that matches the tumbler I'm using. Here's the 3 tumblers I'll be sublimating in today's video. I'll be sublimating a 20-ounce tumbler, a 16-ounce frosted glass tumbler, and a 40-ounce handle tumbler. The 40-ounce came with the Htvront kit. The handle's in the inside if you're looking for it. It's nice that it's already off because you will want to take that off when you sublimate it. I'm going to start with the 20-ounce tumbler. I measure around the tumbler. I got 9.375 for the width, and for the height, it's 8 inches. Next, I'll head into Canva for the design. I selected Create in the upper left corner here. Then I'm going to go down and select Custom Size. I'm going to make this the size of my measurements. I need to change this to inches. Then I'll type in 9.375 by 8. Then I'll hit enter. I'll click on Uploads. Here's my image. I found this from Creative Fabrica. I can link all the designs down in my description box. What you can do is pull it over here, but it's not going to fit perfectly inside of this square. You can line this up, but an easier way to do it is just drag it over the upper left and it will automatically fill in the whole square. It'll be centered and everything. Then I'll select Share, Download, and I'll select Download again. I'll pull this up from my Downloads folder. I'm going to click on File, Print. For my setting, I'm going to click on Printer Options. For color matching, I'll select Cosmos ink. That's my color profile that I use. I'll click on Print Settings. I'll select Premium Presentation Paper Matte, High Quality, and Mirror Image. Then I'll hit Print. I'm using 105G A-sub paper. This paper is a little thinner than the standard one, which is 125. So it's supposed to help with the seam line on your tumbler wraps. I honestly don't know how much it really helps, but I do find it more flexible when I'm wrapping the tumbler and taping it. I'm using an Epson Ecotank. I put Sublimation ink inside of this instead of using regular inkjet. Let's turn on the machine. I'm going to select the custom setting that works for the 20-ounce stainless steel tumblers. So that is 390 degrees for 195 seconds and 100 pounds for the pressure. The machine also came with 2 heat press mats, which is super helpful for getting the best results. I set the pressure to 100 pounds, but to make sure the tumbler fits nice and snug, I'll definitely want to use these mats. They help press the tumbler firmly against the heat plate, which is important for getting full and even sublimation. There are 2 sizes. One is 2 millimeters and the other is 4 millimeters. You'll want to choose the one that gives the snuggest fit for the tumbler you're using. Before I add the paper, I'm going to lint roll my tumbler. This will just prevent any smudges or dots that would show up. I use my paper cutter to trim off those white edges. I wrap the paper around the tumbler. Then I turn the tumbler upside down. I press it against the table to make sure the edges just line up well. While that's lined up, I press the paper together, and as you can see here, I try to make the paper as tight as I possibly can. I also make sure those top corners are level and even. I add 1 piece of tape in the center to secure that. Then where I see open gaps, like at the top and bottom, I use my thumbs to press the paper as close together, and I add more tape. I just continue to do that until I have tape going along that entire seam. I see people use little tape and they get great results. I do not for some reason, so I always over tape. I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch the whole thing, but as you can see, I take my time doing this. I also take one of my wider pieces of tape. I think this is Cricut brand, and I tape along the top edge and bottom as well. If I don't do this, I notice I tend to get ghosting. Usually it's on the bottom of the tumblers, so I've found that this helps. If you do 20-ounce tumbler wraps, let us know if you have any tips or tricks in the comments. I'm using the 2 millimeter mat for this. I forgot to grab my heat resistant gloves, so I put those on. You'll need those for placing the tumbler in the machine and taking it out. I slide the tumbler inside and I try to make sure it's centered in the machine. You can see with that mat, it's going to press it nice and evenly. One of my favorite features is this covers the whole tumbler, so you don't have to rotate it at all. I also forgot to mention the reason why it's called an auto press is if you've used a regular tumbler press before, you have to use knobs to set the pressure for it. Also, when it's done, it will just automatically open, so I can just take the tumbler out. Make sure you take that heat mat out. You don't want it sitting in the press. It gets very hot also, so use your gloves when you're handling that. I like to have the tumbler sit for a few minutes, then when it's still a little warm, I'll take the tape off. It always takes me a little bit to get all the tape off, and I am just impatiently waiting to see how it turned out. Here's the reveal, and I'll show you a close-up. I'm amazed at how well that transferred. Look how vibrant those colors are. The results just look flawless. I'm so excited. Also, look at that seam. It's the trickiest part with tumblers. You can't even see the line in that pumpkin. Next, I will be sublimating a 16-ounce frosted glass tumbler. The size for this was 9.312 for the width and 4.5 for the height. I'm back in Canva and I'll just type in those measurements. This one will wrap all the way around the tumbler, but it won't go to the very top or bottom. So I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm just going to size it myself. I do like to make sure the image is as close to the edge as possible, otherwise you end up with a little gap. I don't want it too close. You can see that is almost cut off. I think that looks good. To make sure it's in the center, you can find those little purple lines, and you can see that little cross right there. I'll save this to my computer. Here's my design. I'm going to print this the exact same way. For my custom setting, I'll select the one that is 300 seconds. I removed the cap. Remember to do that? I forgot one time. I'm going to lint roll this as well. If you buy frosted glass can cups or clear, you'll just want to make sure they're meant for sublimation. I trimmed this down. I also find these glass tumblers to be a lot easier to wrap compared to the 20-ounce ones. These glasses curve quite a bit on the top and bottom, so you want to make sure the paper's nice and centered and flat, otherwise it won't transfer as well. I also make sure where the paper meets, it's lined up. So you can see the top and the bottom are not quite lined up, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I follow the same process with pulling the paper as tight as I can around the glass tumbler, then I tape it. There I go with my tape again. I actually just did the seam for this one. I felt like the top and bottom were nice and flat and that I didn't need to do it. I forgot to use butcher paper the first time, so I'm using that with my glass can. I need the thicker heat mat for the glass can. It's just a little smaller than the 20-ounce tumbler, so I need that to make it fit better in the tumbler press. Once it was done and I removed the paper, I thought it looked great until I saw a little section that did not fully sublimate onto the glass can. I did figure out why. There's an open gap in that heat mat because it wasn't able to fully fit around the glass can. I tried the thinner mat to see how that would work. You can see there's just the tiniest bit of open space at the top. It might have sublimated fine, but I'll show you what I did to make sure I got the best results. I printed another paper out and I am just following the same steps. I lint rolled, now I'm adding the tape. I'm using the 4mm mat again. I place it in the machine, then I'll hit start. I let it run down for half the time at about 150 seconds. Then I'll open the machine up. I will rotate that glass can on the mat a little bit, then I'll place it back in the machine. Then I just let it run down the full 300 seconds. You can try another 150, but this worked for me. My process of doing this kind of negates the not having to rotate the tumblers. However, it might have worked with the thinner mat. If I used that, I wouldn't have had to rotate it at all. And the 20 and 40 ounce, you do not have to rotate it whatsoever. Let's remove the paper and see how it turned out. If you let it cool down a lot before removing the paper, sometimes that paper gets stuck to the glass, so you can just take a wet washcloth to remove that. The colors look so pretty on this, and I love how it turned out. What I love about the auto tumbler press is it's so quick and easy, and I love to be able to give gifts to family or friends, sometimes just for any occasion, like if they are a positive influence in my life. This would be such a cool gift for like a workout buddy. Lastly, let's sublimate the 40-ounce tumbler. The measurements for the top was 12.437 by 5.5. The bottom is tapered. I find these a little trickier, but I measured the very top and that was 9.937. The height was 3.25. I'm going to start off in Canva for the top portion of my 40-ounce tumbler. So I'm going to put in the measurements for that. It was 12.437 by 5.5. I'm going to size it myself. This one is a little trickier because once I pull it wider, there's still a lot of space on each side. If I did my little trick in the corner, I don't love that the flowers are cut off. So I think I'm going to try to do this myself. I'm going to make sure this is in the center. Then I'm going to size this so it fits inside this rectangle. The problem with this is there is still a lot of space on the left and right side. I'm going to center it like I just did there. I might make it a little bit wider. Now I want to add in 2 flowers on each side just to make it look more uniform. I'm going to select on this, hit Command D on my keyboard. Then what I'm going to do is bring this in. It's kind of hard to see, but that will get rid of all the flowers but one. Now I'm going to duplicate this again, and I want one of the pink ones. Now I'll hit Command D again, and I'll bring one of the purple flowers down here, and Command D on the pink flower. I'm just kind of eyeballing this, and I think it looks fine. Okay, now I can save this. I'm in my print screen. I'll just double check my settings. I'll hit print. For the lower part of the tumbler, I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space. The lower section is tapered, which makes it a little trickier. I have an idea of what to try, and we'll see if it works. I'll go to my upload. I'm going to upload the lower section of the design. The design that I bought just had a straight edge one, not a tapered one. But I did find just a random tapered one, so I'm going to pull that in also. What I'm going to do with this is I am just going to change it to a white color. Now I'm going to set my dimensions. For the lower section of the tumbler, I measured the top width, and that's what I'm going to make this size. It was 9.37. The height was 3.25. Okay, I actually looked at that wrong. It is 9.937, which should automatically go to 9.94 by 3.25. Now I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to make the background color different so it's easier to see. So with the flowers, I'm just going to try to make it fit inside of this a little bit better. I think that looks pretty good. There is a little bit of space here and on the sides, but I think that's going to be okay. Now the next part, instead of just attaching it together, I'm going to flatten it. That way when I go to the Cricut machine, it's going to cut only the outside. I'll send it to my Sublimation printer. I'm going to turn the bleed off and turn on my system dialog. I ended up having to hit the mirror button in Cricut Design Space, and in my settings I didn't select it. It wasn't cutting correctly on my Cricut, but that made it work. I decided to use the Cricut for this because I wanted it to cut out that taper design for me, so it'll make it a lot easier. I'm going to swap out my heat plate for the 40-ounce one. I'm going to select my setting using the custom button. Having these presets installed just really makes this easy to use. Like I did for the others, I will cut the paper down, then I'm going to lint roll my tumbler. When adding the top paper, you'll want to make sure that handle is going to be centered. I'll add tape on those two edges first, once again making sure I'm pulling it tight. Then I add tape around the edge of the entire paper. Next, I'll add the bottom piece. I feel like this process in Cricut Design Space worked well, but the lower section needed to be just a little longer. Otherwise, I think it worked great. The paper was nice and flat. This came with its own 40-ounce mat, so that's really cool. I forgot about butcher paper again, but that's okay. You can see a little gap in that mat, but once the tumbler press closed, it completely closed it against the tumbler, so that was perfect. I also made sure to press the tumbler all the way against the groove to make sure it was just laying nice and flat in that heat plate. Once the timer went all the way down, I removed the tumbler. I'm going to remove the paper and see how this turned out. You guys, I added the handle and realized the wording was in the wrong spot. This was totally a Kayla moment. I have a lot of these. I always say you can learn from my mistakes, but let's look at the quality of the tumbler. The colors turned out really pretty and I have no ghosting at all. I've only ever been able to make 40-ounce tumblers in my sublimation oven, and I prefer the tumbler presses, so I'm really excited that I can make these now in this one. There is a little gap in there, which I knew was going to happen. I could have printed out a couple more flowers, but that's okay. So, final thoughts. This is an excellent machine, and I'm genuinely so happy with how easy it is to use. It's very beginner friendly, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to start customizing tumblers. This is great whether you're a pro or you're just getting started with this. I love the results that it gives. It's very professional looking, and the fact that it fits so many different types of tumblers, including the big 40-ounce ones, is amazing. I think the machine will be great if you love giving gifts for holidays or special occasions, but it's also great if you are looking for a little side hustle. I'll have the link down in the description box as well as the $70 off coupon. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more craft tutorials.